Hey everybody, Dr. Schlater here. This is Unit 7, Lesson 7, Activity 7.2, where we're talking about people, elevations, and a submarine. So a submarine is at an elevation of negative 100 feet, 100 feet below sea level. Let's compare the elevations of these four people to that of the submarine. Now, I want to start doing this, but before I do this, I want to do a drawing over here on the side. I would like to draw a line going straight up and down. Let's put a tick mark at sea level, so right here at 0. So that's going to be where sea level is. And let's talk about the submarine. The submarine is 100 feet below sea level. So I'm going to put a tick mark on here. And I'm going to put two pieces of information on here. First off, this is negative 100. And second off, this is where the submarine is. So I'm going to put an S for the submarine. I think using this will be really helpful when we think about where all the other people are. Claire's elevation is greater than the elevation of the submarine. So Claire is above the submarine, and she is further from sea level than the submarine. So Claire can't be anywhere here because she has to be further away from sea level. So she has to be higher than the submarine, and she has to be further away. So let me put something, I might put something all the way up here. This is where Claire is. Andre's elevation is less than the elevation of the submarine, and Andre is further away from sea level. So Andre has to be below the submarine. And if he's below the submarine, he will definitely be further away from sea level. So again, let's put a tick mark there and put A for Andre. Han's elevation is greater than the elevation of the submarine. So Han has to be higher. And Han is closer to sea level than is the submarine. There are a lot of places that Han could be. Han could be here because he's higher than the submarine, but closer to sea level. Or he could be up here, higher than the submarine, closer to sea level. I think I will put Han right about here. Lynn's elevation is the same distance away from sea level as the submarine's. Okay, so Lynn's elevation is the same distance away from submarine sea level as the submarine. So that distance is 100. So I would like to draw a line above here. I'd like to, if I can do a good job here, that distance and that distance, I want these to be about the same. So this should be 100. And this is where Lynn is. All right, what we did there is we used a lot of information about elevation, above and below, lesser or greater than, and distances. Now, what we want to do is we want to complete this table using this information. Write a possible elevation for each person, using less than, greater than, or equal to compare the elevation of that person to that of the submarine, and use absolute value to tell how far away the person is from sea level, elevation 0. So the table has filled this out for Claire. We might say that Claire is up 150. 150 is greater than negative 100, the elevation of the submarine, and her distance from sea level is the absolute value of 150, or 150 feet. Now, I'm going to tell you, the answers you put here may differ. So if I choose some answers here, you may get answers that are different. That's fine. In fact, I would encourage you to use numbers that are different than mine. When we look at Andre, Andre has to be below the submarine. So I might do something like negative 110 feet. Negative 110 is less than negative 100. And the distance from sea level is the absolute value of negative 110, or 110 feet. Remember that absolute value tells you the distance from your point to 0. Okay, Han looks to be about 40 feet high. 40 is greater than negative 100, comparing it to the submarine. And the absolute value of 40 is the same thing as 40 feet. The distance from Han down to sea level is 40 feet. Lynn is at 100 feet. 100 is definitely greater than negative 100. And Lynn's distance from sea level is the absolute value of 100, or 100 feet. So cool. We've taken a look and seen where everybody is. Again, your numbers could be different than the numbers that I started with here. In fact, you will learn more if you use some different numbers that are different than these, but are still correct for the number line. Try and do that. Priya says her elevation is less than the submarine's, and she is closer to sea level. So Priya says, I'm below the submarine, but I'm closer to sea level. Is this possible? No. If Priya's elevation is less than the submarine's, then she is more than 100 feet away from sea level. So that is not a possibility. Notice what we're doing here. We've been talking about inequalities and how we write inequalities with elevation, but we've also been using absolute value and talking about the distance from a number to 0.